Russia has begun tactical nuclear weapons drills near Ukraine in what it says is a response to Western threats. Joining us live is Matthew Sussex, Associate Professor at the ANU Strategic and Defence Studies Centre. Matthew, thank you for your time. Should we be alarmed by that news?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Ash? Most countries with nuclear weapons try and avoid doing this kind of nuclear signalling because it's inflammatory. But look, for the Russian government, rattling the nuclear sabre is unfortunately part of its diplomacy. And it's based on intimidation, it's based on threats, and it's based on trying to convey to the West we are extremely powerful and we have a higher risk tolerance than you. I think this is probably, if you add it to the list, about the 33rd time that Russia has issued a kind of nuclear threat since it reinvaded Ukraine in 2022. And you might think, well, perhaps it loses its force after a while, but, you know, these are extremely destructive weapons, so it's wise to be prudent, I'm afraid.
And what do we actually know about Russia's nuclear program and how it does compare with other superpowers?
Well, look, I think the biggest mistake you could make is to say that the Russian nuclear weapons force is in the sort of same state of repair as its conventional forces, which is often a little sketchy. But I think it's better to assume that the Russian nuclear arsenal works just fine. It has more nuclear weapons than any other country in the world. And it certainly has a lot of tactical nuclear weapons. So this is, notionally a smaller nuclear weapon that is designed to be used on the battlefield rather than against cities. And in having these drills, it's also pointing to the US that it, in fact, doesn't have very many of these tactical nuclear weapons at all. So once again, advantage Russia, or that's the message anyway.
So, Matthew, how is the war with Ukraine progressing? Where are things at? What, couple of years on now?
Well, I mean, look, the Russian Federation is using its time-honoured strategy, I suppose, which is to use as many humans as possible. And in that, it's made some gains against Ukrainian forces. Ukraine has always had the twin problem of having fewer people to call on, but also, of course, being reliant on Western supplies, ammunition, anti-aircraft missiles, and so forth. And with those being held up, particularly in the United States Congress, for about 6 months, it is going to take some time before the Ukrainians are able to, solidify their front line, which the Russians are trying to stretch to make broader and broader and broader. So we should expect, I think, that the conflict will grind on, but that Russia probably doesn't have the capacity to really make a deep exploit into Ukrainian territory, for the moment at least.
Matthew Sussex, always appreciate you making the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.